really work hard to maintain and gain muscle mass, because if you do that, you will live longer. We know that. That's a well-correlated finding. You will also, if you're doing that movement, you will build your bone density, so you will prevent, becoming frail and osteoporotic and be at risk for fractures. And also, bone density is correlated with longevity. So I think exercise, strategic exercise, by the way, doesn't have to be, hours in the gym every day. Is the key thing that I try to employ.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I am so glad you are here. I'm here with Dr. Jeff. When you hear the word cancer, fear usually follows. For decades, our only weapons were chemotherapy and radiation, treatments that could be as brutal as the disease itself. But my guest today, Dr. Jeff Gross, founder of Recelebrate, is pioneering a new frontier, activated NK cell-derived exosomes. These tiny cellular messengers are changing the game by hunting down cancer cells and even the so-called zombie cells of aging, all without harming healthy tissue. Welcome, Dr. Jeff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Before we learn more about your cancer treatments, I do want to know more about how you're taking care of your health and fitness. What steps do you take on a daily or maybe weekly basis to prevent the health issues that we are inevitably going to face later in life?
Well, I think the easiest thing one can do, and I do this all the time, is really work hard to maintain and gain muscle mass. Because if you do that, you will live longer. We know that. That's a well-correlated finding. You will also, if you're doing that movement, you will build your bone density. So you will prevent, becoming frail and osteoporotic and be at risk for fractures. And also, bone density is correlated with longevity. So I think exercise, strategic exercise, by the way, doesn't have to be, hours in the gym every day, is the key thing that I try to employ. We miss a few days here and there, but we, are very strategic about it. And I think that's the non-negotiable as best we can.
Okay. So for everyone listening, I did not reach out to Dr. Jeff before this call and say, hey, here's the answer I want you to give to the very first question. Because anyone who knows me, who's listened to anything I said, would know that everything you just said is literally verbatim of what I tell people. We have a CrossFit program at my gym, but we also have a thriving senior adult. And by senior adult, I mean 70s, 80s. And our oldest client is 94. And
Nice.
We talk about improving bone density and improving muscle mass. So what are you doing? What does that look like for you when we talk about strength training, or, what does that look like to you specifically?
Yeah. Well, we go through phases. You get bored of doing the same thing over and over. But my last 6 months, I have taken up Pilates 3 days a week. And that is probably the hardest workout I've ever done, but achievable. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's getting me the most gains I have seen. And I'm going to use this word that I've never really used much in my life. I have cuts. I have definition in places I didn't know I was ever going to see striations and things like that. And I wasn't necessarily going for that, but now that you see it, you're like, oh, I'm going to do more, So that's 3 days a week. And then I do 3 other days where I do strategic cardio. By strategic, I mean, it might be 20 minutes of intervals on a treadmill at a good incline or something. You don't need to go run for an hour to get the kind of, benefits. Now, if I were, really pushing cardiovascular, adaptation, I might want to do something more, but I'm more in it for the enough cardiovascular and muscle gains. And then on those days I do the 20 minutes of cardio or so. I do 20 minutes of heavy lifting, and heavy doesn't mean problematic or difficult lifting.
Okay.
And instead of what we learned in high school, 3 sets of 10, I'm doing 1 set to failure.
Okay.
Which I learned from John Janquish. If he developed the OsteoStrong method. So it's at those last reps where you're getting the gains. So, if you really want to be a bodybuilder, you just do more of that, I suppose. But I do 1 set of an exercise, usually a machine, a little bit of free weights, but machines are so controlled and isolated. You just work your biceps, you just work your triceps. So it's also, I feel safer. You don't have to hurt yourself carrying a big weight to the bench to get it.
Yeah.
So very strategic. I can be in and out of the gym in 45 minutes with a full workout. I will mix up the days, body parts, I'm always doing back to the upper back, particularly as much as I can, because this day and age of cell phones and tech neck and poor posture because I'm a spine guy by training.
Okay.
I'm really trying to undo that the best I can.
Okay. So when you're saying upper back, are those pull-ups or are those if you're in the gym and you like machines, are those lat pull downs? Are those the
it's the reverse flies. It's the
okay.
pull-ups, I think, are a great complex exercise. Pull-ups are great, right? It's part of the presidential fitness challenge now that RFK Jr. and Hegseth are doing. So I like that stuff. A reverse deltoids, back of the shoulders are part of that. Rows would be part of that.
Okay. And then when you're talking about using machines at the gym, my personal preference is not machines. Having said that, I prefer anyone work with a coach, right? And that's where I saw my biggest gains. But if we can't always work with a coach, then certainly machines can keep us safer and keep us from getting in bad positions. What machines are you using at the gym?
Isolated biceps, triceps. We'll do, even though I do the Pilates, I get a lot of leg workouts. I'll do isolated, hip abductors and adductors, hips in and out. We'll do, the glute machines because, I'm pushing 60 and I'm a guy. I just don't have athletic glutes, if any. So I'm really, trying to, you work your bigger muscle groups, you're going to get more out of it for your entire health. So
that's right.
Glutes are some of the biggest muscles in your body, maybe second to your thigh groups, right? So we try to get some of those in. But other machines, we'll do chest, rows, lats, things like that. Cable machines sometimes on the triceps. I mix the triceps up because the triceps really does have 3 bodies to it, and they require 3 different, angles and approaches. So I like to mix it up.
Okay. You mentioned earlier also about the interval training that you did on the treadmill. What does it, you go to a different incline, but you said in total it's 20 minutes. What do those intervals look like?
Well, I try to keep it simple. So the particular machines that we use have preset programs where it's fast for a minute, slow for a minute. So I run, then I walk, and I run, walk, 1 minute on and off, and you can set the speed and stuff like that. So I want to be really wanting that fast minute to end by the end, meaning I'm really pushing.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I do, lots of people ask, hey, if I come to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, what can I do outside of the gym? I like to run. Does that work? I'm like, yes, but I would really prefer that you set a 1 minute on your watch, or maybe even 30 seconds on your watch. Go as hard as you can and then walk for 2 minutes. Yeah. And repeat that 5 times, right? That's 15 minutes. And that is a phenomenal workout, but you have to go as hard as you can, for that may be a different speed for me, for you versus someone else, right? But go as hard as you can for that 30 seconds to 1 minute, and then walk another 2 minutes.
And that's fair. And, if you're just starting out, you can't go hard for a minute. You got to start out with a little less. And I love to run outside, but as you pointed out before we went recorded here, you can see in the background, I'm in the desert, so it gets a little hot here. So I don't enjoy that as much. So during the right season, I'll run outside and I'll do some intervals, or sometimes just the endorphin release from a nice 30-minute run is good too. But that's more of a cardiovascular only. Runners, if you look at a runner's body, they're not built for muscle gain. They're actually wasting a lot of muscle.
Yep. Yeah. They want to limit muscle growth, right? Because that's just more weight that they have to carry, as they run the marathon, right? You mentioned Pilates. What is? Tell me more about your Pilates experience and workouts.
Yeah, my wife sort of said, "Come on, let's try it," and I kind of resisted for quite a bit, but it's been amazing. It's very controlled, so you really have to focus on form and going slow. And what I've learned is I've never had a core workout like this. And it's not just your rectus abdominis. You're working the transversus, you're working the obliques, you're working so many things. And you have to use all these other stabilizer muscles at the same time, which, helps maintain balance. And you look at some of the measures or tests of longevity. are aging, and standing on one leg, for example,
Yep.
Balance is a part of that. And what happens to old people is they get osteoporosis and they accidentally fall down and break a hip, and that could be the end. So, I have found that this is a really great work. This morning, for example, we were there and we did some lunges and leg work, and I was burning and quivering at the end. And I don't get that when I doing my own workouts. So
sure, yeah. I like barbell and dumbbell and kettlebell movements that are complex. And the reason why I like complex movements like a back squat is that, especially when I look today's workout, we're going to slow down 2 to 3 seconds on the way down. We're going to pause on the box, and then we're going to explode up, driving through our heels. And as you go down, you're having to use all these little different muscles to control your body weight, and in the low that you've put your skeletal system under, or else you'll get off stable and you'll slide to one side or the other. I mean, you've got to stabilize yourself, and there's no good other good way to train those muscles other than going and trying to do something that's an athletic movement.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are they like a little bulk, but really, the control and the real functional utility of those muscles comes from doing things like you just described. And when you're younger, maybe it doesn't matter, but when you want to really foster longevity, these are the keys. And I should mention, I don't know if you've had a guest mention this before, but I do a lot of work with anti-aging and longevity and peptides, and when you work your muscles hard and they're fatigued and you're at that failure point, that's when they release these survival peptides called myokines, or some people call them exerkines. And those are the ones that help you grow and develop. Those are the ones that help prevent dementia. That's why exercise does that. And other health benefits, cardiovascular benefits, those are the peptides that we make internally. But you have to turn on the factory, and the factory comes from that, a failure point. And you don't have to kill yourself doing this, right? You can get to failure in one set.
Yep. So, you can. We don't at my gym, mainly because it's boring for most people. And so a lot of our programming is how to get people to go to failure in the most exciting, mentally challenging way possible, right? Because that's what showing up is where showing up and then going to failure, right? And that's what my whole program is about, is trying to get you to show up so I can make you live to failure.
That's the key of adaptation and survival is to build these muscles. So failure becomes, you're moving that finish line to failure further and further. You're going up in weight, or you're building muscle, and you can achieve more, and that should spill over into everything.
Yeah, absolutely. What are there any specific biomarkers or screenings that you track or that you keep up with in your own life?
So I'm a big health metric guy. So I wear my Apple Watch when I exercise. I have a sleep app on my phone. I've ordered 2 new rings that I'm testing out. One of them is body powered, so you don't have to charge it. So maybe check back with me in 6 or 12 months. I'll let you know which one I like the best. And then, I do body composition. Luckily, our gym has a nice machine where you can do that, but you can get the home scale. They're low end. They may not be completely accurate, but it's something you can follow.
My experience with them is that they're random number generators. I had for about 5 years of my life, this goes back 10 to 15 years, every year I did a DEXA scan.
Yep.
And on the same day I did an in-body.
Yep.
And then I had a Fitbit scale. An ARIA, I think it's called an ARIA.
Yep.
And the DEXA scan and the in-body were almost identical. The DEXA scan will tell you where your body fat is. It will also measure bone density.
Yep.
I mean, it's the gold standard.
Yep.
The in-body, I have one in my gym, but it tells you muscle mass, lean mass, and body fat. And
I'm a fan of I'm not a product placement here, but in-body is great. You can have an account based on your cell phone number, and wherever you go in the world, if it's a connected machine, it'll track your different numbers over time. So it keeps kind of a health record.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what we use. That's what we use and love it.
That's what we have to.
And so watching that muscle mass and lean mass, which includes bone density, go up. I don't really care what you weigh. I want the lean mass to go up. I want the body fat to come down. And then what you weigh is, kind of what you weigh.
Yeah, we speak to weight loss, but it's really fat loss for people with too much fat. Right. We want muscle gain. You want to weigh more at the end, maybe, right? because muscle's more dense, right? Exactly.
Yep. Are you tracking? Do you do any blood tracking work at all?
We do some, and it depends on my patient, how much of an appetite they have for all this. We do all kinds of markers, and a lot of what we do also is making sure that people's cells are in the right state to get the benefits. So that could be if they're hormonally depleted, particularly in the middle age and beyond population. We try to help them get that replaced. So men, obviously testosterone, women, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone with bioidentical hormones. We're not using any of the synthetic or horse urine based products out there. And there are great myths surrounding these things, and we find them incredibly helpful to reduce inflammaging and improve all the youthful desires like muscle gain, muscle maintenance, bone density maintenance. Yeah.
Okay. Do you track anything personally? I mean, for me, I track my HbA1cs, which is high relative, but it's been high ever since for 20 something years. It's the same number.
So you'd be a great candidate for a low dose or microdose GLP, peptide. So to manage that, because an elevated HbA1c is considered, pre-diabetic.
Yep.
So you're probably saying, well, I don't have diabetes. I'm so healthy. Otherwise, I'm not going to worry about it. But your cells are being exposed to more sugar than we want them to be. So they are getting toxically inflamed somewhat. Okay. So, people take metformin, or if you want to go all natural, you can go berberine as a supplement. And we could talk an hour on the benefit and the lack thereof of supplements. But, these low level, that's where I'd start to get that HbA1c down. If you're tracking it, let's move it down, let's work it.
Okay. So on this topic, so my HbA1c is 5.6. It has been 5.6, even when I was less healthy. So I used to be 25 pounds heavier before I started my own fitness journey. And now, I'm lifting, I'm working out, I am stronger, I am fitter. My body fat is 10 to 12%. I mean, my muscle mass is I'm 48 years old and I'm pretty fit, right? But my HbA1c levels are that's the one thing that, and I have other clients who are working out, eating right, and we're seeing other body composition changes and other things great happening. But when we see something not going the exact way we would expect it to with our blood work, is that always an issue or
not always? No, I mean, 5.6 doesn't ruffle my feathers, but you could try, if you're not already doing some kind of intermittent feeding schedule, you could try some actual fasts if you're not already doing that.
Yep.
Another way to release some of the survival. Anything involving hormesis, a little stress to build resiliency. Could be hot sauna, cold plunges. I prefer the hot sauna.
Yeah, I'm not doing cold plunge. Anyone who knows me is like, Brian's not doing the cold plunge.
The thing about the cold plunges is they're cold. So we try not to do it.
It turns out.
But listen, it's a great way to reduce inflammation, but you try not to do it after a workout because it'll blunt some of the gains, right? And I think the other thing out there is, I don't know if this applies to you, but so many people, there are people working so hard in the gym. They're working out, they're dieting, and they're not getting the gains because they're not getting enough protein.
Yeah.
And you have to feed the fuel to your muscles if you want them to grow. So that means protein, and you have to push it. I work hard to get my protein. So that's
okay. How much protein do you recommend?
How much did you say?
Yeah. How much?
Well, if you want to gain, I would be over 1 gram of protein daily per pound of lean body mass. Yep. So that means you don't count the fat. You don't want to feed the fat, right?
Yep.
So, it's usually around 85% of your body weight.
Yep.
So in pounds. So, I'm pretty good right now. I'm probably, 150 pounds of lean mass. So but I struggle to get 150 grams of protein a day. I have to drink the low sugar protein drinks. They have 30 grams and you get them at the big box stores. I will drink those throughout the day in addition to meals and stuff. And anything I eat is protein centric, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm not currently doing a no carb or low carb diet because if you focus on protein, you don't have room for many carbs. You're dragging a few in, but not many.
Yeah. I just had the protein that you recommended, 1 pound for every. I'm sorry, 1 gram for every pound of lean mass. Is that true for both men and women?
It's a rule of thumb. There are probably modifications there,
Okay,
depending on hormonal status and sex.
sure,
I don't have the corrections for that, but listen,
understood.
if men or women, if you're getting that number, you should be able to maintain and even gain muscle if that's your goal.
Yeah, yeah, and in my experience, said earlier, our oldest client's 94, and so I mean, in every population, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, we've seen people be able to improve or maintain bone density and improve and maintain muscle mass.
Yeah,
We don't have to lose it just because we're getting older. We lose it when we're not using it and
yeah.
just like stressing it, just like.
We're an incredibly adaptive organism, and if we don't move, meaning don't exercise, we are basically scheduling our demise because we exist to move to hunt really, but we don't really hunt so much anymore, except for sport, I guess. But the movement is the thing. It's the survival adaptation.
Yeah. Yeah. What does a typical day of eating look like for you as you're trying to get in your protein?
I appreciate that. So I for years, intermittent feeding. I know people call it intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Intermittent fasting to me is a little misnomer because we really are not supposed to eat in the dark. So intermittent feeding comes very easy to me. So I've done that very successfully, easily. So I would have a no calorie beverage in the morning, maybe a black coffee or something.
Okay.
And I still
just one black coffee or like 3 black coffees?
It depends on the day, but usually one.
Okay.
I don't know. I like a little bit of coffee, not a lot. And it's so hot here that in the desert that in the summer I almost don't want it at all.
Okay.
But the just to kind of fill my stomach with something. But now that we're working out so hard and early in the day now, which wasn't always our routine, I get hungry mid-morning. So when that pang first hits me, I will do one of those protein drinks because protein should be the way to stoke the furnace with the first meal. Europeans have this down, and you've spent time there, right? They have protein for breakfast, not a box of cereal. So they know what they're doing. I would say more so than we do from generations of that. So we need to get back to protein, bacon and eggs for breakfast, that kind of thing. So eggs are fantastic, but I will do a protein drink, a low calorie, maybe 2 grams of carbs, 30 grams of protein. That'll hold me another couple hours. And then, I'll lunch around 11:30 or 12. And sometimes that's just, a snack, it might be an apple and some cheese or whatever, but I'm a big cheese fan, and that's not for everybody, but death by cheese. That's my motto.
Okay. And are you eating fruits and vegetables at every meal, or because you mentioned the apple for lunch?
It's not easy to do that. You have to keep fresh ones in your refrigerator in the shopping. If you Instacart, you don't always get the best stuff. Someone's picking it for you. So we have a little bit of a solution to that, though. What we're really achieving here is phytonutrients, which are the best of plants and vegetables and diversity. So I didn't mean to turn this into a commercial, but we'll get to it eventually. But I'm known in the health and wellness circles for regenerative medicine, stem cells and stem cell signals called exosomes, if you haven't heard of that. And that's really the business end of stem cells. And all cells make exosomes. They're small vesicles, bubbles of information. And you say small, Jeff, but cells are small, but these are even smaller by 1,000 times. They're sometimes called nanoparticles, and they contain peptides, proteins, microRNAs that are delivered from one cell to another. So we do a lot of therapeutics in my clinic using stem cell derived exosomes, but plants make exosomes, and that's how they deliver the vast majority of the phytonutrients. So it's kind of this silliness where if you're a supplement manufacturer, let's say you want to make some resveratrol, which is plant derived right from grapes, red grapes and stuff. You want to make some resveratrol. You heard it was a great anti-aging, phytonutrient. You would go and buy, either the powder or the capsules of resveratrol that some company took a bunch of grapes, squished them up, and made a juice and extracted out the resveratrol. broke up the exosomes they were made in. Then you take these capsules, you lose a lot in the gut because they get digested and broken up. Then some gets into your bloodstream, and then the bloodstream's bouncing around. You're losing some there because the cells won't just take it in. Maybe some, but exosomes are a direct way to plant exosomes survive the gut, get into the bloodstream, and directly deliver to the cell because the cell takes it in by endocytosis, if you remember your biology.
Yep.
And you get a high concentration of delivery. So nature's figured out how to deliver phytonutrients. And it's only recently that we've been able to extract the plant exosomes because it's not easy.
Okay.
So I've worked on this project a long time, and we have a lab in Italy that is able to do the work for us. And we selected and curated some organic Italian fruits known for their anti-aging properties, a lot of citrus, mango, papaya, and now we have a phytonutrient capsule of just the exosomes. So you're getting 700 to 4,500 times the cellular delivery of vitamin Bs, except B12, vitamin C, resveratrol, quercetin, glutathione, spermidine, and many others. And you can get rid of 5 or 8 bottles of other things. So by answering your questions, do I have fruits and vegetables every day on every plate? No, but I take my capsule every morning.
So anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a big fan of supplements, and I'm not a big fan of supplements for a couple of reasons. One is you don't always know what you're getting. Right. I mean, just because it says X doesn't mean you're getting X. In fact, that's usually not what you're getting. The second is what you were referring to. I call it, just as a generic term, bioavailability. Like, just because you're taking it and just because in theory your body uses it in a certain way doesn't mean that it has survived your mouth, the esophagus, your stomach, your gut microbiome to get to, through your bloodstream and all the places. But what you're saying is you understand all that. And so as an expert in this field, you're taking a supplement that you have not just researched and studied, but have designed to beat all the issues that I have with supplements.
Yeah, I mean, you and I hadn't met, so I didn't know your issues.
Right.
I would have. I couldn't have scripted that any better. But yes, and this is just the beginning. We're gonna, get other fruits and vegetables and like curcumin, turmeric, and have an anti-inflammatory one, and there are many others. This was our first foray into this, and it's been an exciting project. We launched this in May, and it's doing pretty well. So. You'd have to eat bushels of fruit every day, which
that was going to be my next question. Could I just eat fruit? I like fruit.
I do too. And you still need it because it's got fiber and other things, but this will give you the phytonutrients, in a way that you couldn't get them otherwise. Even if I give you IV resveratrol, it wouldn't get into your cell at the concentration that this would be. So nature's figured this out. We're just finally tapping into it. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. So
now, is this commercially available yet, or are you just skimming off of what's being researched right now?
It's commercially available. I wasn't trying to hijack your show into a commercial.
So here's the deal. Like, I'm here to learn, and sometimes we end up learning things that were not on the schedule or the plan. But if you could send me the link, I'll put it in the show notes.
Sure.
Where I'll try it out, and anyone else who's watching or interested can give it a try. I'm not here. We're not here. I'm not here. You're not here to really to push this. This isn't a salesy thing, but if you're taking it, I trust experts. That is part of that's because I think of myself as an expert in the training and fitness field, and I want people to trust me. I trust people such as yourself. I don't trust the people who struggle saying scientific names, who struggle, that you can tell they're in the sales and marketing side and not I don't want to talk to sales and marketing. I want to talk to the person, well, we don't really have a scientist. Well, then I'm not listening to you. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind, let's get into who you are and what you do, in your practice. As part of your introduction, we mentioned about, so how do the NK cell exosomes naturally protect the body from cancer, and why do they weaken with age?
So this is kind of an odd sequitur, right? We're just going right into
it.
but we haven't even gotten to that. So I do a lot of regenerative medicine, and regenerative medicine means tapping into our body's own innate ability to heal that we tend not to be as good as we age or exposed to a life of inflammatory stresses like stuff in our food we shouldn't have had, electromagnetic fields, lack of exercise, lack of restorative sleep, et cetera, all kinds of things. So that inflammation, chronic inflammation begets disease. It accelerates aging. And some of the markers of that are reduced function of our own stem cells and reduced function of our own immune cells. And some of those immune cells, a very small proportion, are called natural killers.
Okay.
By the way, it sounds like a name of a movie or something like that. But we have some of the white blood cells are called natural killer cells, and maybe 1% to 2% of our white blood cells. And they circulate throughout our body during our life. And their job is like undercover security. And they go around and they find abnormal cells and they selectively kill them without hurting the rest of us. Those cells could be infected cells. They could be accidental tumor cells that we make throughout our life. Yeah. Because we have trillions of cells dividing. Every now and then you get a whoopsie, and it gets removed by this method. And then as we start to get older, some of the cells that divide too many times and they're kind of done are aged, and they collect kind of cellular toxins and junk, and they're bloated and big, and they don't die. And those are called senescent cells. And for fun, we call them zombie cells. And they take up resources but don't contribute to the community. And the more of those you have, the lesser percentage of more youthful functioning cells you have. So you can see how a body can feel aged or become aged when it's getting more of these zombie cells. So these natural killer cells help to remove the zombie cells. Now, as we age, all of our cells aren't working as well, including those natural killer cells. So you're more likely to get more zombie cells that can't be cleared out, or cancer. And if you look at cancer victims, they tend to have a lower number and a lower quality of natural killer cells. Now, I'm not saying that's the cause of the cancer, but certainly interesting that it would make sense if we can enhance natural killer cell function, we might help someone fight a tumor. And I didn't come up with that. That was something I researched. And it turns out that if you help restore that natural killer cell function to someone who has cancer, well, first of all, you can help prevent cancer by restoring that. You can also help improve what are called anti-aging markers in someone by using those enhanced natural killer cells to remove senescent zombie cells. But if people already have cancer, there's incredible research, both in animals, in petri dishes, and more and more in humans, that you can use these natural killer cell functions to help fight cancer. It's natural. There are no side effects. And back to my what's an exosome, the natural killer cells do their killing by releasing these special exosomes. The exosomes are basically the ammunition, and they're doing the work. So it was very difficult to get enough natural killer cells collected to produce those exosomes, because they secrete them, and concentrate them in a therapeutic dose. But a few labs around the world have now done it over the last few years. None of them are here in the US. So we have been trying to get these for quite a while. Finally, earlier this year, we were able to acquire some limited doses of natural killer cell exosomes. And we've been using them to help people who are interested in alternative cancer therapies, augmentative cancer therapies, maybe in addition to something traditional. People at risk for cancer, maybe they have a family history or the BRCA gene or something, and they want to help prevent cancer cells from forming or from surviving. And in people who are in remission and want to help support that remission, because most people in remission aren't doing anything. They're just waiting around and getting checked. And they want to be more active. So those are the things we're doing with it, both systemic through intravenous drip and direct injection into tumors.
Wow, there's a lot there.
Sorry, I took over again. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. So what is, you mentioned kind of a wide swath of people who are interested in these treatments. For people who we're not diagnosed with cancer, like it's not impacting our lives at the moment, how much should this be of interest to us?
It probably shouldn't at this juncture, because I don't have enough access and doses to give it to people who, are want to do it preventatively, or, to do it for anti-aging or senescent cell removal. I just don't have enough. I want to save those for the cancer patients, right? That's the most,
when it comes to we talk about preventing cancer, there are these other things like eating lean meats, eating fruits and vegetables, working out, stressing the body. That would be your first recommendation. Is that correct?
Oh, 100%. 100%. You can do things to stimulate your natural killer cell function, like high dose glutathione, which is a supplement. I know you're big on supplements, but that is something you can do. You can stimulate natural killer cell function. There are some other supplements that are good for that. Fasting, periodically doing a 3-day fast.
And when you say a 3-day fast, what does that mean to you?
That means you do not eat calories for 3 days. You can have all the water you want.
Got it.
You can have black coffee or non-caloric teas, just to have some pleasure, but no calories.
Okay.
The first day is hard. After that, it's not too bad.
Gotcha. What type of person most often reaches out to you for your types of treatment?
Well, for the natural killer cell exosomes, it's usually someone with cancer who's he's failing traditional treatment or just refuses it flat out. Looking for something natural. Most of the patients that contact us are actually more in the musculoskeletal realm. My background is I'm a recovering neurosurgeon, spine surgeon. So I was always trying not to do surgery on people, right? That's the last option. And my patients came to me and said, what about this? What about that? Let's try stem cells. So I actually went back and retooled and retrained and reeducated for that. And I meant to offer it to my patients as an additional tool, but now it's blossomed into so much more. So the biggest thing, or most common thing I do is treat people with joint problems, and spine included, spine problems. So, cartilage wear and tear, maybe people with accelerated degeneration, or what's called chondromalacia. Some doctors don't explain that well and call it arthritis, which is just vague in my mind. Even people who are bone on bone, especially people who are facing a recommendation for a joint replacement, those are the most frequent people that see us, because we have stem cell exosomes from amniotic fluid that have demonstrated some incredible benefits when applied properly.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you. That was very helpful. Where can our listeners learn more about you?
Well, as you mentioned at the outset, our practice is called Re-Celebrate, because we are celebrating renewal of our cells and their functions. And that's spelled RECELLEBRATE. And I think we've cornered the internet on that word. So because we made up the word. Our website is recelebrate.com. Our Instagram is @recelebrate. Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, TikTok, all those. Same word, Recelebrate. That's our handle.
Awesome. You answered basically all of my questions. The last question I want to end on is, if you could give our listeners just one action. I know we talk kind of a lot, but if you could just give them one action to move forward, what action do you recommend they take?
Work those muscles to failure. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be painful, except that last rep or two. But it feels good after. Do it. You'll get endorphins out of it. You'll feel good after. Work to failure. Get those muscles really used well, and it'll serve the rest of you forever.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Jeff. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you stopped by.